Is there any radiation or any concerns with those scans?
Yeah, it is. It has a radiographic. There is a radiographic part of it. The good thing is that it's a very low exposure. The machine itself stands in a hallway in our center, and you don't even need to have. By the way, old X-ray rooms, you got to have lead shields in the walls and lead shield on the patient. It's digital, so there's probably 90% less exposure than a conventional dental X-ray. So there is an exposure. It's very low. One of the things that we do in our office is we use a lot of supportive herbals. So we have a thyroid support that we use, and we always make sure the patient is protected. I will tell you, though, the amount of information that we get from a 3D cone beam is extraordinary. It's a game changer. But we try to avoid the other X-rays because the other X-rays, the small, what we call periapical films, that dentists want to always take, they want to keep taking them, keep taking them, keep taking them. Those we've cut down on dramatically because we really don't need them as much. We're able to see, we're using transillumination with no exposure to X-rays, to transilluminated tooth to see decay. And then we're using a lot of the cone beam gives us everything that we need. And the exposure from one cone beam is about the same as a full set of dental X-rays. So it gives us everything, and it lasts more than, it's diagnostically useful for a lot longer period of time.
Is that the best way of seeing if you have cavitations?
It's the gold standard. The gold standard is a 3D cone beam. There's a new ultrasonic device called the Cavistat. I don't know if it's Cavistat or Cavitat. That was developed in Europe, but it is, you really get multiple images. It'll show you where there's a lack of bone density, by the way, the Cavistat. But it is really kind of like finding a coin in the sand with the bleeping device. Cone beam shows you exactly the dimension, the shape, the size of a cavitation in the jaw.
And no, if you have a cavitation, does it necessarily mean you have bacteria in it?
Another good question. Just because you have a cavitation does not mean that it's pathogenic and it's causing problems and all that. I will tell you this. It is a vulnerable area. And by the way, what we're noticing right now, and this is a scary statistic, over 80% of people that have had their wisdom teeth taken out in the past have some sort of cavitation. Does it mean everybody needs cavitation surgery and it should be treated? Absolutely not, in my opinion. What should happen is, A, you should know if you have it or not. B, we should see if there are any comorbidities or other issues. Do you have leaky gut? Do you have a heart arrhythmia? Because, by the way, the meridian for the third molars, wisdom teeth removal, cavitations, are the small intestine and the pericardium of the heart. So do you have Lyme disease? Have you had Lyme disease? Have you been diagnosed with Lyme disease? That's almost a mandatory cavitation treatment because there's some doctors like Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt who have said, if you have jaw cavitations, you're never going to get over your Lyme disease because Lyme spirochetes love to hide. And these are warm, dark, moist areas in the human body that don't have a good circulatory system. So they're kind of immune to the cleanup that you get in other areas of the body with your immune system. So getting into these cavitations, we have 3 objectives. By the way, I will send this protocol to everyone explaining, what cavitations are and why they're significant and how we treat them. But the 3 most important things are to get into the cavitation, to disinfect what's there. By the way, we take a pathology sample when we go in, so it can be analyzed. Then we do a disinfection of the area with laser and ozone and other remedies. Then we will decorticate the surrounding bone, but we really want to get in there atraumatically, get it disinfected, and get a circulatory system there so the bone can really regenerate and heal. So you want to get in, you want to graft it, you want to make sure you have a good blood supply to that area.
And are CT scans and the subsequent treatments, are they typically covered by insurance?
Many times they are. A cone beam, it depends on their policy and what their medical covers. But a lot of patients that we work with, we have a company that helps identify what insurance coverage they may be entitled to for surgery in the jaw. That's not dental, it's more medical than dental. In other words, these necrotic areas of bone in the human jaw that are causing medical issues. The patient has had, for example, mold exposure, which is very debilitating. And we find mold in these cavitations. That's where, we have been able to, depending on their policy, get medical coverage for them to get these areas treated and resolved for their health.
So even though it's in the mouth, you have your regular health insurance, not your dental insurance covering.
Right. Medical coverage, people should know medical coverage can cover different types of disability and diseases in the mouth, like cysts, like osteonecrosis, osteomyelitis. These are medical issues in the human jaw that are covered by medical, not dental.
So the symptoms, as I've heard them that you've mentioned with regard to cavitations, have been more systemic symptoms. So are there any particular local symptoms that would give someone an indication that they may have a cavitation?
It often can manifest, and when it does this, you have to be careful because you can sometimes get a dull, nagging pain here in the third molar area. That's usually a sign that the cavitation has gotten larger, and it might be what's called a NICO, N-I-C-O lesion, which is neuralgia-inducing cavitational osteonecrosis, NICO. NICO lesions can be dangerous because it often means that the canal that houses the nerve under where the wisdom tooth was extracted may be exposed or involved now in the lesion that exists of osteonecrosis around it. So that's one of the symptoms. Matter of fact, NICO lesions have often been confused and diagnosed as trigeminal neuralgia by oral surgeons and dentists who are like, well, we can't explain the pain. We don't see a cavity, and they're using a two-dimensional x-ray of the adjacent teeth, when in actuality, it's a NICO lesion, which, see if I have a picture, can look like this.
Okay.
So that's why it's important to get a 3D cone beam and have them diagnosed properly. I'm sorry to say that many dentists don't really diagnose cavitations well. They were never taught. One of the great things, and I'm happy to announce on this show, is that I'm actively working with a group of people to establish a university program where we're going to train, teach, and certify in a major dental university in the near future. I can't announce which one yet until the papers are signed, but we have someone making making a large endowment to establish an institute to teach the principles and protocols of biologic dentistry, because that's really what's needed. This needs to be taught in dental school, and then there can be postdoctoral programs available as well for those who want to learn, who are out of school already.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So we have about a minute left. You mentioned sleep apnea as an issue. What works for sleep apnea?
a friend of mine, a biologic dentist by the name of Felix Liao, he wrote a book. It was very technical, the book, but the title tells it all. It's called 6 Foot Tiger, 3 Foot Cage. And the 6 foot tiger is your tongue. The 3 foot cage is your mouth. If you've had orthodontics where teeth have been pulled, you have a high vaulted palate. We breathe through this triangle. If you have a high vaulted palate, you have a restricted upper airway. What works the best for sleep apnea is make the 3 foot cage a 6 foot cage. Do expansion of the arch. There are appliances like the DNA appliance, removable aligner therapy to expand the arch, relieve tongue tie, do some myofunctional therapy to train the tongue to come forward. The biggest culprit for sleep apnea is the tongue. It's like that's the 800-pound gorilla in sleep apnea. If you're tongue tied, your tongue gets held back in the back of your throat like a rubber stopper in the neck of a wine bottle. So get a sleep study. There's a lot of non-invasive, non-surgical things we can do in biologic dentistry to help people who are suffering from obstructive sleep apnea.
Great. Well, that concludes our time. Thank you so much, Doctor, for all the information that you shared with us
My
today.
pleasure, Michael.
If we can unmute the audience so they could share their appreciation.
Much very novel ideas.
Thank
You,
you.
doctor. This is amazing.
Wow.
Our
Great
EG or
information.
solutions.
Thank you.
Amazing.